want to say the Overland model up in Ohio. So you'll see a lot of influences that way. The Berea 1855, when they first started, and John G. Fee was the founder, and he had a vision that we should have a school, but before the school actually got organized and the legal papers were done, they ran Fee out of here. This was in 1859.
They ran who out of here?
John G. Fee.
Oh.
They ran him out. They said, you've got ideas that are too much of an abolitionist model. So, and they gave him just a few minutes to get out. Now, in the meantime, there were different things that were going on, and so he prayed his way out of a couple of those. And one of the people that was with him actually got charred, and I don't think they feathered him, but anyway. So that's some of the background with Fee. But he thought the difference between being an abolitionist, he thought that slavery was wrong from the jump street, and therefore it should go away just like that. But that wasn't the ideas that was going around in the country at the time. So when they ran him out of here, bottom line is his wife and the kids actually were here, and they had to leave by themselves because there were like 5 different movements to get the people out of here. Okay, so, and he didn't come back to Berea until after the Civil War. Now, during the Civil War, he was at Camp Nelson, which is a refugee camp that at the end of the war recruited black soldiers. And his thinking was if he got at least 5 or 6 of those black soldiers that were already able to read and write, and he could start the school, and that was his idea of the first class that he would have at Berea when he started back up in 1865. So that's the beginnings right there. Now, I always say that Berea was I want to say K through college, because if you think about these newly freed slaves and the poor people that were around that were not educated, this was an equal playing ground. So Berea was founded for blacks and poor mountain whites. So if you think about it, if you go to a class and there's somebody that's 6 years old and can't read or write, and somebody that's 60 years old and can't read or write, they're starting at the same place. And so that's how Berea started. So the classes up until even to 1968, they actually had like an ungraded, so you can go as fast as you can with what you have. One of the first black trustees at Berea, well, one of the first trustees, period, was Gabriel Burdett. And Gabe Burdett was one of those ministers that was over at Camp Nelson. All the research that we've done so far, Gabriel Burdett was probably the first black trustee in the whole United States. But anyway, he was from Camp Nelson. As I'm going, sometimes I get scattered, whatever, so feel free to ask a question if you want to, just, hey, go at it.
So, what nationality is John G. Fee?
John G. Fee is white American. Actually, his family were slave owners, and one of there is what we call a cut fee Bible over in the archives, where Fee has cut out passages about slavery, and we don't know why he cut them out, but they're like cut out with like a straight edge or razor or something. So, okay, but also in that same Bible is a list of the slaves and their birth dates and whatever. So one of those slaves her name was Julia. Fee freed her, bought her freedom, and then she, being free, wanted to get her kids back. So she was going to this county, that county. Incidentally, Fee was from like Mason County, Lewis County, Kentucky, northeastern Kentucky. So he's trying to get the kids. Oh, she's trying to get her kids back. So she goes, and bottom line, they accuse her of stealing property. So she's stealing her own kids back. So they put her in jail. Somebody posts bond. They put her in jail. She goes. As soon as she gets out, she goes after another one of her kids. But eventually, people run out of money. She ends up in jail, in prison, in Frankfurt for trying to steal her kids. And Fee's remarks is, she might have been better off if I had not freed her. So, you know, that's some of the stories that go with Fee. Let's see. So we go from, say, late 1860s. So the actual population mix for Berea College, for Berea, even though after the first year it was called a college, it was 4 years before they could actually graduate anybody at a college level. So, but Berea College, so a lot of times people say, well, I went to Berea College, but they might have only been in the 10th grade. They still went to Berea College, okay? One of the first teachers that they had, first thing, it was almost half and half black and white. Women at that point, it was kind of unheard of for them to teach men. So there were women teachers. And one of those female teachers was Julia Britton. Julia Britton Hooks started a music school in Tennessee. Okay, and she was one of the founders or early people with the NAACP. Benjamin Hooks was her grandson. Okay?
There's a painting of her at the Boone Tavern.
Right, yeah. So she, in 1870, 71, she was a student, but she also taught music here. So that's, now some people say that she graduated. We've never been able to find that she actually graduated. Her sister, Mary Britton, was one of the earliest and maybe first female doctor, definitely in Lexington and maybe in Kentucky. So that's where, and there's a brother that they don't talk about that actually was a jockey and rode in the Derby. So there we go from there. Okay, so from 1865 or so, we got black and white, men and women going to class together. Fairchild is the first president. Okay, and he's there until 1889. He gets sick. They get another president named Stewart. He wasn't here but for 2 years, but he was into some controversy about some, anyway, bottom line is that everything might not have been on the up and up with him. So then we get Frost. And Frost was here from 1892 until 1920. Okay, it's under Frost. Have you all heard of the Day Law? Bottom line is this representative, Kentucky legislature, got off the train down here where you're going to go later on this afternoon, got off the train and he saw black and white being too friendly toward each other. And he said, this has got to stop. So he introduced the law where blacks and whites could not go to school, be educated together. And it was only aimed at Berea. It's a private school, but it's only aimed at Berea. So in 1904, they passed this law that blacks and whites could not go to school together. Okay, and in there it also, because it said school and it will fine you $1,000 a day if you don't do it. Well, that included Union Church over here, who had a Sunday school, and they weren't sure then about the Sunday school, whether that applied to them too. And since Frost wasn't in town, then they stopped having Sunday school, the Sunday school together. Okay, there was money allocated because the money that had been coming to Berea was to for blacks and whites. So they said, okay, so where are these black kids going to go to school? Well, nobody wanted it. You know, you can't have a school here. You can't have a school there. It has to be at least 25 miles away from Berea. You can't have it right here. So they ended up kind of sneaky how they did it, but they got land over in Shelby County, and they started Lincoln Institute, Lincoln Ridge, okay, which was built on the same plan. That bottom line is you work and you go to school and you work your way through. So that's Lincoln Ridge over there. So Frost was here from 1892 to 1920. Then you get two more presidents after that, William Hutchins, and then later on Francis Hutchins. Berea has only had 10 presidents in the whole time. President Nixon, that's here now, is the first female. So we've had just, except for Stewart being here 2 years, everybody's been here 10, 20, 30 years as you're going past. Let's see. Under Hutchins, even though black students could no longer go to school here, he still encouraged people for it to be an interracial thing. So there were times that Union Church over here was full of community groups, black singers. They still awarded degrees, master's degrees, whatever, to people that were here. Okay. Now, that almost brings us up. So they had the vocational schools. So you had first nurses. One of the first nurses that we had to graduate from here was Mary Merritt, and she ends up the first registered nurse in black or white in Kentucky. And she was actually from Berea. She started, helped enlarge the Red Cross Hospital in Louisville. We've had a bunch of dignitaries and whatever. One of the ladies that was here that was a graduate, her grandson, let's see how it is. Her grandson, Colin Powell, his wife's grandmother was a Berea grad. Okay, we've had people here. Carter G. Woodson graduated from here in 1903. We've had people, Booker T. Washington spoke here. The Dalai Lama was here. We've had all kinds of, if you look at the who's who that's actually been through Berea. So what I'm going to do is to take you on a short tour through the campus, tell you about some of the buildings, just a little bit of history as we go through. Now, my grandmother was here in 1904 when the Day Law was passed, and she actually, the building out here, Fairchild, which was Ladies Hall, she pointed her room out to me. Okay, you probably heard a little history of Boone Tavern. Boone Tavern was built when they kept getting all kinds of guests here, and there was 300 and some one summer, and they were staying in the president's house, and she said that's enough, and said, you know, you gotta do something about this. So that's why Boone Tavern got built as a hotel. So, you know, she said, this is not going to do it.
Did the Day Law affect anything other than education? That's strictly education, the Day Law.
It was strictly, and it did go to the Supreme Court, and we lost. But yeah.
I mean, it does affect the culture.
Well, yeah. I mean, before the Day Law, I mean, the kids went to school together. There's actually in the trustee minutes where there was no issue. This is in 1880s or what. There was no issue about black and white dating. They said it's no harm, no foul. As long as you act right, there's nothing wrong with that. Most of your black teachers that came that are in the schools after 1904, they were educated right here. The first 4 presidents of Kentucky State University were Berea grads. And so, and you go just across the nation that way. So there's Virginia, you can just name it like that. And you can also go online and ask about the Berea history. And if you're back here, and I do have some of these, but there's a tour that you could do, and you could actually do it online and listen to some more of the stories.